Mellow greetings, everybody. What's going on? My name is James. I am from the internet. And I cannot believe it, but in this crazy media time that we live in, where most stories can't manage to stay on the front page for, more than like 3 hours because Twitter trending hashtags and the constant dumpster fire that is, politics and the economy in America just keeps spitting out headlines so goddamn quick that news never stays in the news for very long. So, color me shocked. Second day in a row, Trump and his shitty taxes and his shitty business practices managing to hold on to the top spot in the news and the media for a second straight day. Honestly, I'm just going to assume it's because of the upcoming debate with Joe Biden. Yeah, that's going to be a whole thing. So I was really surprised after all of this leaked yesterday. Not that so many of the people who are Trump's base and Trump's core, who, are the exact people that literally wouldn't do anything if Trump shot somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue, per his claim. Those exact same people, obviously, they were going to come running to his defense and be all over social media. I was kind of surprised by the number of people who call themselves like common sense Republicans, or middle of the road conservatives, or, what people would call the normal folk, or people who lean to the right who aren't into Trump. There are actually people like that, I promise. And the majority of them, their reaction was, well, good for Trump because he didn't have to pay taxes. And, I'm all about people not paying taxes. On one front, I can't argue. Like, when I get the tax bill every year, like a little piece of me dies inside. Like, I'm sure everybody would love to pay less taxes or pay no taxes. I would assume that's people's default settings. If the world could be awesome and we didn't have to pay taxes, that would be great. Unfortunately, that's not the world we live in right now. So I'm surprised that people who are out there, banging away hard for 30, 40 grand a year and are still paying out, $7,000, $8,000 a year in tax at the end of the year are applauding Donald Trump for paying, $1,500 into federal tax over a period of 2 years when he earned $73 million while also being the president. So I thought I would actually cover how screwed up it is, why it's screwed up, and what's coming next on the wealthy politician v tax front, considering that it affects us all. The revelation from Trump's taxes, not only that he paid very little tax here, but he actually paid more tax in other countries where he earned revenue than he did here. So Trump paid $750 in federal tax in 2016 and 2017. And meanwhile, in other countries, he paid almost $16,000 of tax in Panama. He paid $145,000 of tax in India, and he paid $156,000 of tax in the Philippines. So apparently Trump knows what it's like to pay taxes. He just doesn't pay them here in America. How come the wealthy, when they make money, are taxed more in other countries than they are here in the United States of America, even if they live in the United States of America? This seems like a decent question to ask. Why does the tax code exist the way it does? I know Trump did recently change the tax code, and it affected me greatly when he came into office and he passed through his simplified tax code with the 7 different brackets. And I know obviously this is something that has to be passed by the House. It's not like Trump just instituted it. The House put it through, and it simplified the tax brackets, and it also killed a large majority of the tax write-offs that people would get. The people that killed the most were small businesses who either worked from home or out of their garage. The American dream, poor people started up a company in their garage and, they made billions. Well, now, thanks to the most recent tax breaks that Trump killed, if you work out of your garage, you can't claim any business deductions. Like, you literally can't claim a small business deduction now unless you rent an office someplace, i.e., unless you give money to a capitalist who has invested capital into real estate. Your business technically does not exist, even if you have an EIN number, tax ID, the full 9 yards. It doesn't matter. For purposes of the Trump tax code, if you work out of your house, you don't have a real business. Meanwhile, he put in a lot more loopholes for wealthy people such as himself. And again, I keep saying he did it, because obviously this was something he pushed. He said he was going to push, and then he got it in. How did it pass so easily, though, right? I'm going to assume it's because the majority of lawmakers are millionaires. I don't know. I can't imagine this is surprising to people, but apparently we need to bring it up every now and again. More than half of those in Congress are millionaires, and the median net worth of members of Congress who filed disclosures last year was over $1 million. Much like in the real world, much of the wealth in Congress is concentrated at the top. The top 10% of the wealthiest lawmakers have 3 times more wealth than the bottom 90%. Still a better ratio than those of us in the working class, I assure you. While some lawmakers are still paying off student loans, others are paying off their 3rd or 4th mortgage. The group of wealthiest members includes career politicians who boosted their portfolios over decades in Congress and recently elected lawmakers. Back in the day, you used to be a not wealthy person. You would run for office and you would be backed by wealthy people. And then the wealthy people would fund your re-election campaigns and get you tons of grift money. And in return, you would lobby for lots of legislation that screwed over the working class, but gave more breaks to those wealthy people who supported you. In recent years, the wealthy have stopped doing that, and they've just started running for office themselves, which I assume would have to piss off career lawmakers because they spent decades setting up a good grift, and then somebody with $100 million just, bikes in and goes, "Hi, fellow Congress people, how are you?" That's really got to chap their ass. According to estimated net worth calculations, Senator Rick Scott from Florida is worth nearly $260 million in net assets. Here's a list of some more wealthy people: Vernon Buchanan, Don Beyer, Dean Phillips, Nancy Pelosi, Susan Delben, Fred Upton, Roger Williams, Buddy Carter, all these people worth $70 million or more. Kelly Loeffler got appointed in the seat in Georgia, and she's worth like $500 million and owns a WNBA team. So now like the wealthy have just stopped paying these people off. So in one respect, yay, maybe we're done with career politicians. But on the other side of the stick, good Lord, no, we've now replaced them with wealthy capitalists who also have the power of politicians. And somehow I think that's not going to end well. Leaders of both chambers make the top 10 list. Nancy Pelosi, seen her wealth increase to $115 million from $41 million in 2004. Mitch McConnell saw his net worth increase from $3 million to over $34 million. Both of them are married to affluent individuals who are driving those increases. Fewer people in Congress came in with money. Mitt Romney, who is an equity executive before we passed Romneycare in Massachusetts, worth an estimated $174 million. Mike Braun spent $10.5 million of his own money to get elected and is still worth $137 million after spending all of that. Another self-funder and midterm winner, Dean Phillips in Minnesota, holds an average of $124 million in net assets. Two-term rep Paul Mitchell is a Republican from Michigan, saw the largest growth in wealth between 2017 and 2018. In 1 year, his net worth went from $101 million to $180 million, and he's already announced that he's not going to seek re-election. So I'm gonna give the moderate Republicans, I'm gonna give you all a tip of the cap on this one. Yes, you are right. The problem with the IRS is both a Republican and a Democratic problem. Now, if you remember, back when Donald Trump was running, back when he was talking about running, all the way back in like 2015, 2014, he was bemoaning the fact that he was stuck in the middle of an IRS audit. And he's been in the middle of an audit for, now it's almost 10 years he's been getting audited. How the hell does somebody get audited for 10 years? Well, there's a very easy answer. Sorry, it's just easier and cheaper to audit the poor. It turns out that the IRS has been getting steadily defunded by the House. Why? Because they're all wealthy. It seems pretty simple, right? So the IRS has said that auditing poor taxpayers is a lot easier because the agency can use relatively low-level employees to audit returns for low-income taxpayers who claim the Earned Income Tax Credit, which is one of the only tax credits left at this point. For the working poor, that is, not for the wealthy. For the wealthy, there's tax credits for buying a private jet or buying a yacht or, owning a seventh house. For poor people, there's pretty much just the earned income tax credit, and all you have to know are the ins and outs of that one simple tax credit, and you get a bunch of $30,000 a year entry-level employees, and you let them bang away on poor people's returns that are only like 14 lines because, most of the working poor files a simple form, and it takes them like 8 minutes to do their taxes, and then they send it out, and that's it. They don't even think about it anymore. The audits, of which there were about 380,000 last year, accounting for 39% of the total the IRS conducted, are done by mail and don't take too much staff time either. They are, quote, the most efficient use of available IRS examination resources. On the other hand, auditing the rich is hard. It takes senior auditors hours upon hours to complete an exam. What's more, the rate of attrition is significantly higher among more experienced examiners. As a result, the budget cuts that Congress and Senate have just continuously lobbied back and forth in a, tennis match of approval. Ding, let's defund it. Ding, let's defund it. Okay, ding, let's defund it. And apparently it's hurting the IRS very hard. And it's the most experienced auditors who make the most money are the ones who are very easily lured away to work in accounting departments for wealthy people in their businesses because they have granular knowledge of the tax code and all the loopholes in it. So wealthy people look for IRS high-income auditors to come and bring into their companies. And the IRS can't afford to pay them as it is. You know why the IRS can't afford to pay them? Because there's like 500 really wealthy people sitting in Washington, D.C., who are the ones who determine how much funding the IRS is going to get. This is why they've been trying to finish Trump's audit for a decade now, but Trump just deluges them in lawyers, and they have like 2 dudes who are going, I guess we'll get through this pile of papers at some time. And then the Trump lawyers just keep dumping more paperwork on them because they know they can't keep up. You know how they know? Because Donald Trump's the guy who signed the fucking budget that cut the IRS's money some more. For now, the IRS says while it agrees auditing more wealthy people would be a good idea, without adequate funding, there's nothing it can do. Quote, Congress must fund, and the IRS must hire and train appropriate numbers of auditors to have appropriately balanced coverage across all income levels. Since 2011, Republicans in Congress have driven cuts to the IRS enforcement budget. It's more than a quarter lower than at its 2010 level, adjusting for inflation. Recently, bipartisan support has emerged in both the House and Senate for increasing enforcement spending, but the proposals on the table are relatively modest and would not restore the budget to pre-cut levels. However, even a proposed small increase might not come to pass because it's unclear whether Congress will actually pass any bills this year. They won't. It's not a secret. They're wealthy, and the elite will always protect each other first. And anything they do to enrich their lives, you can pretty much be guaranteed that it's going to come at the expense of the working class.